All right, so here's a character breakdown for the LSI, and I'm gonna simultaneously show you how this character is LSI and kind of explain the LSI a bit, explain certain pieces of it. I've actually had several people now kind of request LSI and request certain specific things about the LSI, like NE, like where's NE with LSI? What's the deal with that? So, okay, we'll get to it. So, in this particular movie. This is Kingdom of Heaven, another, in my opinion, phenomenal movie. Definitely go see it if you haven't. So we have the main character in this movie, Balin. Balin. Okay, kind of a bit of a backstory and so on. It's not really that relevant right now, but he is a character that's very LSI to me because you will notice, is extremely TI. Now, TI, what is TI? What are we talking about here? TI is about following a structure, a coherent set of rules or principles that the individual has chosen to believe in, that makes sense to the individual. That's what they think matters to them. And they have aligned themselves to that system of belief, that system of viewing something. And now, what that belief is or what that system is can change. It depends on the context, the individual, what's going on. In this case, of course, we're talking about somebody who is in the Crusades. This is a time of feudal lords and so on, right? This is kind of what it is: knights, lords, kings, queens, etc. Now, you could say the medieval system, the feudal system, is very TI in the sense that you have a clear cut hierarchy, a classification. This is also very TI oriented, categories, classifying things in a very clear way about clarity. TI is very clarity seeking. It is the clarity seeking element, trying to clearly define things, organize information, make it all make sense, make it all clear and fit, and then crystallize that information. It does not change. It doesn't move. Okay. Or it takes an enormous amount to make it move. That is crystallized. That is TI. So the feudal system is very TI in that you have a clear cut system of governing and hierarchy, right? We have kings. Kings only are, let's just say, they kneel to God. That's about it. You have kings and queens, and then below them, you have different levels of lords. And then below those lords, you have knights. And then below them, you finally get to the peasant class, basically, right, of different things. So very clear cut structure, clear cut organization. Everyone has their role to play in society. And according to your class, whether you're in the nobility or you're a peasant or whatever, there are certain codes of conduct, behavior, whatever expected of you, right? Very, very neatly organized. So that's just the time period that we're dealing with, right? Now, as I said, if you're in a, let's say, a modern context, you can see people that are very TI in the sense that they choose a certain religion, perhaps, and that is their clarity. They refer to the good book for guidance and for what is right, what is wrong. It either is or it isn't. It's in the book or it's not. Like very clear cut. They want clarity. They don't like ambiguity. Um, you may see some people who it's political. Nowadays, you might run into somebody that they're a socialist or they're a libertarian or they're a communist or they're feminist, whatever, right? They believe and adhere to a certain criteria, ideology, and they like to make it clear. It's clear to not only them, but clear to everyone around them. This is also part of TI, making things very clear so that everyone gets it. That's where the TIFE comes in. I want something logically clear and definable, and that's easy to then transmit that information to everybody all around me, right? Everyone gets it. They know exactly where I stand. You'll see this with TI types that they They often like others who make it very clear where they stand on something, on a particular issue. Right? They don't like ambiguity. They don't like people who look flaky and maybe bouncing this way or that way. Today I might kind of adhere to these rules, but maybe not tomorrow. EI types really, generally speaking, they don't like that. Some really hate that, and some, they'll just look at that person like they're unreliable, flaky, useless, whatever. It's part of the reason why LSIs may not like certain types, like um, your IEEs, right? Conflicting there with the ENFP types, or maybe even ESFP types, or certain other types that just don't value TI or don't seem to have any TI. There's no coherent structure that they align themselves to ever. They just seem to be all over the place. Um, LSIs usually don't like that very much at all. Okay. So I'll keep going, but let's get to this so we give you some visuals what I'm talking about here. Right? Again, this is a period piece. It's in a time, it's in context, so understand that.
I can go no further.
Get on your knees.
Little low, I'm sorry.
Be without fear in the face of your enemies. Be brave and upright, that God may love thee. Speak the truth, always, even if it leads to your death. Safeguard the helpless and do no wrong. That is your oath. And that's so you remember it.
Arise, the night. I'm Baron of Evelyn.
Defend the king. If the king is no more, protect the people.
It's time now, my lord, to confess to Holy God, not your son. Are you sorry for all your sins?
For all but one.
All right, so okay, whoops. All right, so why that scene? What's up with that? The point I'm trying to show you that scene is, first off, the ritual component to it. It's making things very clear. What is this person's role? What are you meant to do? Okay, now, being a knight in this time period, there is a very specific code of conduct, of what you are meant to be, what you're meant to do, how you're meant to behave, and so forth. We already mentioned the hierarchy and the structure and all that. This character really seeks to be a perfect knight. A lot of what he is talking about is doing things the right way. Okay, kind of almost by the book, you might say. Now, what do we mean by the right way? What is that? All right. Every TI person will decide for themselves what is the right way. They will make up their own mind on what system of belief or system of rules, code of conduct, etc., is right in their view, in their opinion. Right? And then they will try to align themselves with that and stay as close to that as possible, no matter the situation. It doesn't matter. To them, the belief in the code in the system is what matters most and always. The context doesn't matter. Okay. Protect the people. Speak the truth always, even if it leads to your death. Okay. So it's like, don't be opportunistic. Don't flake out just because it's inconvenient. Don't flake out because, oh, you might die or there might be consequence. No, no, no. This is the code. This is the oath that you have decided upon, you believe it. Again, people who are very fanatical, for lack of a better word, on a political view or something like that. They'll say, yeah, listen, this is what we believe in as a political party, and we're going to stay true to those principles. We're not going to deviate from those principles. Now, what makes this guy, TI, or I should say LSI, okay, so TI with SE, what makes him different than an LII, which is a TI any type, is the physical, is the making this code and putting it into reality. Okay, it is about the actual physical reality. The code of conduct, the belief, the thinking process, okay, that itself is not a physical, tangible object, right? It's a set of ideas, concepts, thought, set of principles that could literally be written on a piece of paper. And they're saying the same thing over and over again to each other. It's mass communicable. This is why it's a thinking instead of a feeling thing. Feeling is subjective. You like this person, fine. You like that person. That doesn't mean everybody else does. Okay? They don't have to feel a certain way about it. Okay, but aligning yourself to a set of principles, values, ideas. Oh, okay, that's different. Now we're thinking here. Now here it's all about putting your money where your mouth is in a very physical sense. You will enforce these beliefs. You will do whatever you have to do in the tangible, physical, real world to make sure that these beliefs are adhered to, this code of conduct is adhered to, even if that means fighting to the death, whatever it takes, right? You will physically stamp this into reality, whatever it takes. Okay, so let's kind of get to it. This is further into the movie.
My lord, the king is marching on Kerak. Saracen cavalry. They're coming to close Reynald in. These people are not safe outside the walls. Saladin will certainly come behind him.
Go into the fortress now.
Hiya, Binna.
To Kerak.
Thank you, but no. If we do, these people will die.
We'll hold the Saracen cavalry until the king arrives.
So be it.
We cannot attack that and leave.
What do you look at?
The knight. His men.
Woo, look at the size of that force difference, right? Look at this tiny little group. Look at all that. And all we can see is a single file. There's probably more men behind them, right? So before I keep going, so what's important here? Remember the oath. Remember what your place is. Remember what you have aligned yourself to believe in. Protect the people. This is your job. This is your oath. This is what is worthy of making you live up to the ideals of being a knight. So he's here. He has his small cavalry force. He knows what's about to happen. He knows he can't win this. He's not stupid. He's very well aware of the physical force and violence that's about to happen. He's been fighting plenty up to this point. He knows that this is not a winning situation for him, but that's not the point. The point is that he follows his oath. He follows his belief on what it means to be a good knight and be a good man, essentially. And he's going to go into this. He's going to fight this, even though it's a losing battle. Now, notice this very SE. We're going into this fight. I know he knows exactly what he's getting into. But it's subordinate to the TI. It's subordinate to the way things ought to be. So this is kind of the difference maker between, let's say, an LII, who would be SE polar. LI may go into a fight in some way, but it's like they're clueless. They don't always necessarily really understand what they're getting into. They might look like that goofy nerd that's gonna like try to get into the fight, and you could tell they don't have any understanding of the physical violence that's really about to take place. It's a bit of that. And you can see this character is not theoretical at all. You know, it's he's not discussing theory in any way. He's acting. He's doing it physically. It's happening. So it's very TISE going on here. Now, where does the NE come into play? What's the deal with NE? You could argue that there's a lack of NE, right? There's a lack of possibilities, creativity. What else could we be going on? What else could be happening here? Are there other options that we should explore? Maybe like, do we have to fight? Could we talk? Could we go into the castle? They just offered us to go into the fortress there. Could we do that? No, we're not going to do that. What about, I don't know, some trickery to try to outflank them, get around them, do something clever? What? Is there anything else we could do? No, there's almost no discussion of what there is to do, right? It's very much, we know what's going to happen. One singular outcome, one singular approach. We know what our purpose is and we're going for it. Depending on who's watching this, they may be observing the LSI and say, the LSI has no NE. They're just so not creative. They stick to their guns. They stick to their oath. They stick to what they're going to do. And that's it. There seems to be almost no effort whatsoever at trying to be creative, think outside the box, try to come up with possibilities, alternatives. No, that LSI has made their mind up already. That LSI knows their place, knows their job, knows what must be done, and is going for it. They're not brainstorming anything. Right. So for those who really value NE, they may be kind of annoyed with an LSI because to them, they're like, man, you really couldn't you come up with something else? Maybe like, what about this? What about that? Let's think about this. Let's come up with some other shit. I'm like, nope, we know what's going to happen and we're going to do it. That's it. That's why an LSI can be said to be NE polar. There just seems to be no flexibility with them at all. They can seem very rigid because they've made their mind up what they believe in and they're going to follow that. So let's carry on.
Are you with me?
Y'all with me on this? Yeah. We know our place. We know what we are to do. If we must die, then so be it. All right, just because it slightly annoys me, I have no idea why they would suddenly go into two columns. You're in one mass line, and now you're gonna form into two columns, only to break off into a line all over again. What the fuck is the point? There we go. Now we're dividing again. What for? Massively outnumbered. B, do you think there's a lot of SE and all that? Do you think he really gets it?
Your quality will be known among your enemies before ever you meet them, my friend.
You were not that man's servant.
No. He was my servant.
What becomes of us?
As you deserve. You reap what you sow. You have heard of this, no? Get up. You may go into Karak, but you will die there. My master is here. Tell my lord Salahuddin that Jerusalem has come.
want you to note something on the way those men were talking to each other. They just had this big cavalry fight, took prisoners, whoever's left alive, and they now had this very civil conversation and kind of quoting scripture almost to each other. You can see that it's not personal. There isn't even a lot of emotion being shown in them, actually. But it's not personal. Nothing is personal. We were just battling it out to the death a moment ago, and yeah, we're having this civilized conversation. I respect you for your courage, your honor. I respect you did your part. I did my part. We had our different teams, but it's not personal, right? I have no ill will towards you specifically or anyone else, right? That would be the FI stuff. You don't see the FI really. It's not about that. As I said, you're not even seeing a whole hell of a lot of emotion and mood here. It's just kind of like, yeah, we fought, okay, we're here, kind of calm, right? The whole feeling component of it is not important. What is important is the TI, the principles that we all believe in, the value, the structure. That's what we adhere to, and we enforce that. We follow that.
Salati.
I pray you pull back your cavalry and leave this matter to me.
I pray you retire unharmed to Damascus. Reynald of Chatillon will be punished. I swear it. Withdraw, we will all die here.
Clear line in the sand. Clarity.
Do we have terms?
We have terms. I will send you my physicians.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Praise be to God. So, again, the movie is it's Kantian, Immanuel Kant. Okay, for my philosophy nerds, they're all going to go crazy and point that out. Yes, it is. Very TI. That's the philosophy behind it all. That's why the whole movie is very TI-ish. Now, the character, again, as I pointed out, very TI with SE, the willingness to enforce that stuff. And it can seem rigid. It's very line in the sand. You either will this or will that. There is no ambiguity. There's no other possibilities. There's no, that we're not interested in that. Focused on this is the way of it. Bringing it on home, there's another scene in the movie. I wish I could find it, but can't. Where the main character, Balin, is, he's offered an opportunity to take over. The king is going to die. We'd like you to take over because it would be good for everybody. But in order for us to do that, we have to arrest this particular asshole, really, who's you have to arrest him and execute him, and then you'll marry the queen and all that. And the main character, Balin, says no. Says no, I won't. I won't do that. I won't be the cause of that. I won't be responsible for that kind of thing happening. You know, I can't be responsible for that. For him, it's like it's all about it has to be a kingdom of conscience. It has to be about the right things. There he is, Bale. It has to be about the right things. I want to adhere to the code and to what is right. In principle, what is right. One of the other characters then approaches him and says, "Why won't you do this? Why will you not do you not realize the kind of harm that will come? The man we're going to get rid of is a man that hates you. He insults you. He would have you killed if he could. But you still won't do this." And he says, "Nope. It's either a kingdom of conscience or nothing at all." Right? It's all about the principles of the matter. Even though he himself doesn't like the guy they're going to execute. He doesn't like him. The other guy doesn't like him. They both know that. But it has nothing to do with FI, whether you like someone or not. None of that matters. What matters is doing the right thing, the principle thing. And if we're not going to follow the principles that we claim to believe in, then all of this is bullshit anyway. Nothing fucking matters. You're throwing everything out, right? TI can be very all or nothing in that sense, right? EE is much more pragmatic, right? It's doing whatever can kind of work. Like, it's okay, we'll compromise some values, some views, or whatever, if it means getting something done now. Right? TE will do that. TI is like, no, these are the principles that we set out. This is what we believe in, so we're going to follow that. And if you're going to start picking and choosing when you want to follow it and when you don't want to follow it, then it's all bullshit. We're not following anything anymore. This is all garbage. And you throw the whole thing out. This is why you'd say TI can be very static. It's very rigid. Once you decided to align yourself to that, that's it. You're following it. It's not picking and choosing when and where. Picking and choose, that's some TE shit. That's how a TI person will kind of look at stuff. TI valuing people, okay? Even if you're somebody who's uh lower on TI, let's say you're an EIE, IEI, SEI, whatever, one of these types, you still value TI. You still want to adhere to a certain structure, a certain code, a certain way of doing things, a certain way of how we behave ourselves. So you're not going to like this idea of people picking and choosing when and where and seeming like they're wishy-washy. Like, that's going to bother you. Right, so some of the major takeaways. Just to kind of also, I guess, throw one more bit in there. If you're watching The Mandalorian is also very LSI, TISE, the creed of Mandalore. It's very TISE as well, right? It's a creed, it's a code that's laid out, clear cut. This is what we believe in, this is what we do. You either follow it or you don't. You're either one of us or you're not. That's it. There is no ambiguity here. So this is the way. It's also very TISE oriented. Uh, Again, this is an example, a period piece about knights and so on. This obviously is not reflective of what we see today. However, you can meet people who can very much be like this. I've given examples in the past about coaches that I've known, my dad. They set up a certain rules. This is the structure. This is how we play. This is the team. This is what it means to be part of this team, to play your part, and so on. And no one is special. Nobody gets preferential treatment. Right? I don't care who you are. We will all participate and do things the same way, the right way, quote, right way. Um, and if you step out of line or you break those rules, then there will be consequences. You will be punished. You will be benched. You will be, you know, something is going to happen. You can see this in law, the archetype of like a police officer, right? Or the army drill sergeant type. It was like, hey, you are all equal. While you're here and in that uniform, you will all participate. You will all do your part. You will all adhere to the same code of conduct, the same structure, the same way of behaving, etc. And if you don't, there will be consequences for that. So we will enforce that. There will be some kind of punishment. There'll be something, right? You're laying it out clear cut. This is the code. This is the structure. These are the rules. This is what we believe in. And it's universally enforced across the boards. Everybody will participate. Everybody is going to be affected by this. Okay? Where you get kind of the TIFE axis, right? In order for the whole group to be on board with something, you have to make sure that everything is clear. It's clear cut what the rules are, what the structure is. Can't be any wiggle room or ambiguity to it, or otherwise everyone's going to be all confused and nobody knows what the fuck is going on, right? So that's part of the purpose of clarity. TI for the FE. Right. Same with law already. You break the laws, etc. These are all examples of TI, FE type of stuff being dealt with. In this case, the showed you TI is what's most important here. Good Balin here is not very good with the feeling side of it. He doesn't really express himself very much emotionally. He doesn't do shit to affect the mood of the environment. Not really. He can be a very good leader, as LSIs can be. Usually they're great leaders because they set an example. They're that kind of person that's leadership by example. I will show you that I live up to the principles and I follow these rules and follow these things right, and I do the right thing and so on. And now that I've set that example, you guys can follow the path, right? Kind of the LSI sort of approach to things. It's very helpful in the duality thing. LSIs paired up with EIEs, the ENFJs, or even an IEI, because they help provide that structure, that clarity of understanding of what is expected, what is the rules, what is it that we are trying to do, and enforcing that, making sure that we adhere to that, making sure that we stay consistent to what we believe in or what's actually happening. Okay, we're not letting our emotions and situations carry us along, which can happen for ENFJs. That's kind of what where the duality is. I've yammered on long enough. Hopefully I've touched upon all the major points. And if not, somebody can leave that in the comments. Again, Kingdom of Heaven, check it out. If you want to see more about the character and understand, of course, you could always critique it, double check, see for yourself if you think this guy looks like LSI to you. So yeah, as always, let me know in your comments. Let me know if you again you enjoy these kind of character breakdowns to help show you Socionics type examples.